Don't scroll past this. Not right now. There are only 7 minutes left in this moment, and what you choose to do next is not as small as it feels. Archangel Michael is not sending warnings without reason, and this one is different. Something has already been set into motion around you, something that was not meant for your eyes to see until this exact second. You might feel a strange hesitation, a pull to leave, a sudden distraction in your mind or even in your surroundings. But that is exactly why you need to stay. This message did not appear by accident, and if you ignore it now, you may never understand what almost slipped past you. There was an attempt, something deliberate, something targeted, and the timing of this warning is not coincidence. It is intervention. Even Jesus Christ is described as interceding in moments where a soul stands at a turning point, and this feels like one of those moments. You are not being asked to panic, but you are being asked to pay attention, because what's unfolding is tied directly to your path, your timing, and something that was nearly taken from you without your awareness. If you feel even the slightest sense that this is meant for you, don't dismiss it. Stay with this message, stay focused, and don't let anything pull you away, not yet. Because in the next few moments, you're going to understand why this warning came exactly when it did. Now listen carefully, because this is the part most people ignore, and it's exactly where the truth starts to surface. What you've been experiencing lately, the delays, the sudden confusion, the plans that almost worked but somehow fell apart at the last second, none of that was random. There was intention behind it. There was pressure placed on your path that didn't originate from you. Archangel Michael reveals that there was an unseen resistance working quietly, not loudly, not obviously, but in subtle ways, designed to slow you down without you fully realizing it. Think about it. The moments where you felt unusually drained for no clear reason. The times your focus slipped right when something important needed your attention, or how certain opportunities seemed to disappear just as you were getting close. You may have brushed it off as bad timing or bad luck, but deep down, there was always a feeling that something wasn't right. That instinct wasn't wrong. There are people who don't confront directly. They observe, they wait, and they act in silence. And in your case, something like that was at play. It wasn't about open conflict. It was about quiet interference. A word spoken in the wrong place, a doubt planted at the right moment, a delay introduced just enough to shift your direction. These things don't look dramatic on the surface, but over time, they create distance between you and what was meant for you. And that's exactly what was attempted. You were meant to question yourself, to hesitate, to second-guess your own timing. That's why certain days felt heavier than others, why your energy dipped without explanation, and why even simple decisions started to feel complicated. But here's what changes everything. You were never fully disconnected from the truth. Even when things felt off, there was a part of you that stayed aware, that kept noticing patterns, that refused to completely give in to confusion. That awareness is what prevented the interference from becoming permanent. Because the goal was not just to slow you down, it was to make you stop entirely, to make you believe that what you were working toward wasn't meant for you. And for a moment, it almost worked. There were times you considered stepping back, times you thought about letting go, times where the effort didn't seem worth it anymore. That wasn't weakness, that was pressure. Even Jesus Christ is often described as recognizing the weight of unseen struggles before transformation happens. And that's exactly where you've been standing, right at the edge of something shifting, even if it didn't feel like progress. The resistance increased because you were getting closer, not because you were failing. And the one who tried to interfere didn't anticipate that. They expected you to stay confused, to stay distracted, to keep moving in circles. But something changed, something they didn't account for. And that's why you're here, hearing this now, because what was meant to block you didn't just fail. It started to turn into something else entirely. But here's the part that changes everything. The moment they made their move against you, something else responded faster than they expected. What was set up in silence didn't stay hidden, and what was meant to weaken you didn't land the way it was planned. Archangel Michael is not described as passive in moments like this. He is described as intervening, cutting through what is unseen and exposing what tries to remain in the dark. And that is exactly what happened. The attempt to block you didn't just fail. It triggered a reaction that shifted the entire direction of what was supposed to happen next. You may not have seen it immediately, you may not have felt some dramatic change overnight, but something was intercepted before it could fully take effect. The weight you were carrying, the confusion that was building, it reached a point where it could not continue the same way. There are moments when interference crosses a line, and instead of gaining control, it loses it. That's the moment where things begin to reverse. What was meant to delay you starts accelerating something else. What was meant to close a door starts redirecting you towards something stronger, something more aligned. And this is where your situation shifted. Because even though the pressure was real, it didn't have the authority to define your outcome. That authority comes from something higher, something that does not operate in secrecy or manipulation. Even Jesus Christ is often described as stepping into moments where the outcome appears uncertain and restoring balance in ways that cannot be forced or predicted. And in your case, that restoration has already begun. Think about the small changes you may have overlooked. A delay that frustrated you but later made sense. A conversation that didn't happen but protected you from something you didn't see. A path that closed only to reveal another option you hadn't considered before. These are not random shifts. These are corrections. And corrections don't happen unless something was trying to push things out of alignment in the first place. The difference now is that what was working quietly against you is no longer operating without resistance. It has been noticed, and once something is exposed, it loses its ability to move freely. This is why the energy around you has started to feel different, even if you can't fully explain it yet. There's a sense that something is stabilizing, that the confusion is slowly lifting, that your clarity is returning piece by piece. That is not coincidence. That is what happens when interference is interrupted. The plan that was set against you didn't just stop, it began to collapse under its own weight. Because anything built on hidden intent eventually reaches a point where it cannot sustain itself. And when that happens, everything tied to it starts to unravel. What they didn't expect was that their action would create the very shift they were trying to prevent. Instead of pushing you further away from your path, it brought attention to it. Instead of weakening your position, it reinforced it. And now, the same force that was used to block you is being redirected in a way that benefits you. That's the part most people don't see coming. Because when something backfires at this level, it doesn't just return to where it started, it transforms into something entirely different. And that transformation is already in motion, whether others realize it or not. And this is exactly why you're seeing this right now. Not earlier, not later, but in this very moment, when things have already started shifting behind the scenes. You might think this is just another message, just another video passing through your screen, but the timing of this is too precise to ignore. When something like this reaches you right after a hidden situation has already begun to turn in your favor, it's not coincidence, it's confirmation. Archangel Michael is often associated with moments of awareness, moments where a person is meant to recognize what is happening before it fully manifests. And that's where you are right now, in that narrow space between what was attempted and what is now being redirected. You may have already felt a subtle shift without fully understanding it. Maybe things haven't completely changed yet, but something feels different. The pressure isn't the same, the confusion isn't as heavy, and there's a sense, however small, that something is beginning to stabilize. That feeling matters, because it means you're no longer in the same position you were before. The attempt to block you has already been interrupted, and now you're standing at the point where awareness determines what happens next. That's why this moment is so important. Because when you become aware of a shift, you either align with it or you unknowingly step away from it. This is also why distractions may feel stronger right now. You might suddenly feel the urge to scroll away, to check something else, to lose focus for just a second. That's not random. Moments like this tend to come with resistance, especially when clarity is starting to return. The difference now is that you can recognize it. You can choose to stay present instead of slipping back into the same patterns that were holding you in place before. Even Jesus Christ is often described as emphasizing awareness in critical moments, because awareness is what separates a turning point from a missed opportunity. Right now, you are not just listening, you are deciding. Not in some dramatic or obvious way, but in a quiet internal way that still carries weight. Staying with this message, staying focused, allowing yourself to fully understand what's being revealed, that's part of the process. Because the shift that has started around you isn't something that forces itself into your life. It responds to alignment. It responds to attention. And that means what you do in this moment matters more than it seems. You're also being shown this now because something is approaching. Not something distant, not something months away, but something that is already forming in the near future. The next few hours, the next phase, the next interaction, something within that window is connected to what has already shifted. And if you move through it without awareness, you might not recognize it for what it is. That's why this message appeared before it fully unfolds. So you don't miss it, so you don't second-guess it, so you don't dismiss it as just another random event. So stay with this. Don't rush past it, don't treat it lightly, and don't assume it doesn't apply to you. Because if you've made it this far, there's already a level of attention and awareness that others would have lost by now. And that matters. This is the moment where everything that was hidden starts to make sense, but only if you stay present long enough to see it clearly. Now listen closely, because this is where everything comes together. This is not just about what was attempted against you, and it's not just about the shift that has already begun. This is about what happens next, and why this moment matters more than any other part of your journey so far. What was meant to block you has already lost its hold, and now that energy, that intention, is no longer moving against you. It's being redirected in a way that works for you. That's the part most people don't recognize until it's already unfolding. Archangel Michael is often associated with protection, but also with restoration, restoring what was interfered with, correcting what was misaligned, and making sure that what belongs to you is not permanently taken away. And that restoration has already started, even if you haven't fully seen the results yet. You're going to begin noticing things that don't feel like coincidences anymore. Small changes at first, conversations that suddenly shift in your favor, situations that begin to resolve without the struggle you expected, opportunities that appear where there was nothing before. These are not random events. These are the visible signs of something that has already been corrected at a level you couldn't see before. Even Jesus Christ is often described as bringing transformation in ways that are quiet at first, but undeniable once they begin to take form. And that's exactly how this will unfold for you. It won't feel forced. It won't feel chaotic. It will feel like things are finally starting to move the way they were always supposed to. There is also something important you need to understand about timing. What's coming is not far away. It's not something you have to wait endlessly for or question whether it will arrive. It's already approaching, and in a way that will catch you off guard if you're not paying attention. That's why this message reached you before it fully manifests. So when it happens, you recognize it, you accept it, and you don't hesitate. Because hesitation is what almost allowed the interference to take hold before. And now you're no longer in that same position. You're aware. You're prepared. You're aligned with something that is already moving in your favor. You may also notice that certain people or situations begin to reveal themselves more clearly. What felt uncertain before will start to make sense. What felt hidden will become obvious. That's part of the restoration process as well. Clarity returning, truth becoming visible, and confusion losing its influence over you. And when that happens, you won't need to force decisions or question your direction. You'll simply know what aligns and what doesn't. That kind of clarity doesn't come from guessing. It comes from a shift that has already taken place. So this is your moment to stay connected to that shift. Don't go back to doubting what you feel. Don't ignore the signs when they start appearing. And don't treat this like something temporary. Because it isn't. This is a turning point. The attempt to block you didn't just fail. It positioned you for something stronger, something more stable, something that cannot be interfered with in the same way again. And now, everything that follows will reflect that change. If you've stayed this far, it means you didn't let the distractions pull you away. It means you recognize that something about this mattered enough to pay attention. And that matters more than you realize. So before you move on, before you shift your focus, take a moment to acknowledge that this wasn't random for you. This was a message that reached you at the exact time you needed to hear it. Stay aware, stay grounded, and don't overlook what starts unfolding next, because what's coming is not just a continuation of your path. It's the part where everything begins to move in your favor.